Listen, children, to a story that was written long ago about a kingdom.
Hey, welcome back to Fox Tales. I am, of course, your storyteller, Joshua. And, I didn't know whether or not I was going to continue doing this series, but about a year later, here I am. And I actually have a tale this time from the Spycraft universe. Spycraft, it's a tabletop role-playing game, of course, but and using a D20 system, but the thing is, it's kind of like being in a James Bond spy action movie. It's kind of fun. Oh, before I continue, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. I'm not filming myself for these anymore. I decided to throw in pictures and illustrations to show off my what I'm talking about, because I just thought it would be more interesting than just looking at me. So, alright, well, continuing on. Yeah, this is from the Spycraft universe. And about one particular mission the group I was in went on. I have an alternate title for this episode. It's like down below I put Moron's 11. But I also wanted to have, like, in colon, how not to run a heist. And this is a tale on how something can go so wrong and yet still technically succeed. Well, let's begin. The mission itself had us trying to break into a bank to steal one particular locked box inside of the safe deposit box. Steal it and steal the box. Don't look inside, and return it to our employer. And it's like the plan was, we would obtain an armored car, which we could obtain with our resources. We were able to obtain an armored car, a fake one. We dress up a few of our, agents, a few of the characters, players, as employees for whatever the armored car company would be. Yet people who would be handling. And we were going to get in, get through, get the safety deposit box, and get out. I wouldn't be telling the story if it was that simple, if it actually turned out that way. We had our hacker. Our guy in the chair, working behind the scenes. His whole thing, he was going to put on their record that we were scheduled. They were going to put on our record, it's like, fake credentials. He did actually succeed in getting us into the vault. However, he failed to disable alarms. There's like there's a crazy laser grid inside of there. And so we had to do some finagling, but we managed to actually get the box out. We managed to avoid laser detection to actually cut the thing out. And that took some distraction as well, so that they didn't notice us cutting out a safety deposit box. But we did actually manage that. And that was our last bit of large success in this entire thing. Because in order to get the box back out inconspicuously, we were going to have to deal with the alarm system. We got in just fine, getting out with the box was going to be the issue. And so, hacker, we've got to get their system shut down. And so he tried. And he rolled a 1. So instead he set everything off. At this point, we had no choice, and we ran to the armored car. Now, once we were in the armored car, I went into the back of the armored car, and I picked up something that I had taken for the mission. I had brought with me. Didn't expect to have to use, but I had it. And because my character wasn't as much a spy as he was an ex-soldier, so all he knew was heavy weapons. All I knew was weapons, and heavy weapons just happened to be on there. And he didn't think he was going to need it, but he could bring it. It was in his budget for the mission. Turns out I was going to need it. Because I pulled from the armored car, while standing in the back of the armored car, a rocket launcher. And to make my daring escape, I fired at the roof of the bank. They were a lot more worried about falling rubble than trying to stop us. So we managed to pull out there. But of course, we then had to avoid the police. One of the agents had to be left behind. We escaped with the armored car, but the agent and the box, but the agent was still caught and being brought out by police. We evaded capture, pulled ourselves back to the bank to trace where they were taking our agent, and drove off after them, eventually reaching a intersection where our driver's solution with his stunt driving was to ram the police car that had our agent in it head on with an armored car. Well, he did. We did. And our agent miraculously survived. Was not so lucky for the police, apparently, in the game, but our agent got out. But by then, it's such a fiasco, they got backup. And we were surrounded as well. We tried to talk ourselves out of it. Our charismatic person tried to say, "No, officers, relax. Everything is fine. This is a movie shoot. They're just really good actors over there. They're not dead. They're real good sports. It turns out they're very good. This is just a shoot." And this man, pointing to me, the big, huge military guy, this guy's Brad Pitt. Said that this is Brad Pitt. That's Brad Pitt. And the DM was like, "You're not gonna pull off Brad Pitt." But I had no other choice. I stood up right at the gaming table and just do my best from Inglourious Bastards with my best "Buongiorno!" and rolled my dice. I pulled a natural 20. To anyone who doesn't know, natural 20, it's when you roll a 20 on a 20-sided die. And in most D20 systems, that's exceptional. That is, on a D20, on a natural 20 roll, the impossible is possible. DMs seem to have a soft spot for a critical success. And so, we actually managed to have people convinced that I'm Brad Pitt, and this is a movie shoot. They let us go just long enough for us to get away. Because eventually I'd find out, no, those aren't good actors, they're dead. But we managed to get away with one of the biggest, stupidest bluffs I've ever done. It was fun, though. And we got back to our employer, and we technically succeeded, so he couldn't say, oh, you failed. It was just such a spectacular bumble our way through. And the huge kicker was that he then opened up the box and showed us what was in it. This whole mission was a test for us. Because what was in the box was a number 2 pencil. That is how we caused millions of dollars in property damage and killed 2 police officers for a number 2 pencil. Thank you for joining me on this story. I'll tell more in the future at one point. And I hope you like the new format. Until then, keep playing, my friends.